While you might not be familiar with his name, Michael Mansory was one of the top stars backstage in the corporate world of WWE business. He first joined WWE in 2009 as a production assistant and admirably worked his way up through the ranks before being promoted to Vice President of Global Television Production in 2016. The key word there, though, was. As it's been revealed, Mansory handed in his notice several months ago and has now officially left WWE. Interestingly, PW Insider is reporting that Mansory was considered a major part of the Triple H regime backstage, with many seeing him as the next Kevin Dunn, believing he would eventually replace Dunn as executive producer. The old backstage faction war has always put Triple H and Stephanie McMahon on one side, with Kevin Dunn and friends, which sometimes includes Shane McMahon, on the other. The well-liked Mansory leaving is a political blow to the Helmsley-McMahon regime, and his decision reportedly caught several people by surprise. And his notice seems to have come around the same time Triple H received his demotion. With Mansory leaving the company and longtime TV director Kerwin Siffles being furloughed as well, it's been reported that Kevin Dunn and Matt Miller will now be directing WWE shows. Which can only mean one thing: more Crash Zooms! Unfortunately, there's no easy way to segue into this next story. Former WWE star Shad Gaspard, one half of Crime Time with JTG, has been reported missing after being pulled under by a strong current while swimming with his son on Saturday afternoon. According to TMZ, Gaspard and his son were with a group of friends who were caught in a rip current, which is a strong underwater current that flows away from the shore. Lifeguards attempted to rescue him, but Gaspard told them to save his son first before they returned for him. During that time, another wave had rolled in and Shad wasn't seen again. Kenichi Haskett of the LA County Fire Department Lifeguard Division issued a statement on the incident. "We had one of our lifeguards go out to make a double rescue of a father and a son. The father unfortunately got pushed down by a wave as they were getting pulled out of the current. The lifeguard rescued and grabbed the boy, the son, and tried to grab the father as well. He ended up getting pushed down by a wave and we couldn't find him. And we immediately started with our rescue boats, called in additional lifeguards to search that location for his dad. Divers and helicopters then joined the search, but as of now have been unsuccessful in finding him. Shad's wife Ciliana and their son haven't left the beach since, and they've used several wrestlers to tweet a statement from the Gaspard family. Shad's family appreciates all the love, support and concern through this horrible ordeal. At this time, they are not ready to make any public or official statements to any media outlet and ask all to respect their wishes. There has been an outpouring of support from the wrestling world, sharing their fond memories of Gaspard, which paint him as a kind, brave and well-liked person. Beth Phoenix tweeted a picture of the two with the caption, "Praying for my longtime friend and travel buddy," and many others have shared a video of Shad embracing MVP and crying when Kofi Kingston won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania last year, as well as recounting the time he prevented an armed robbery at a gas station. Shad Gaspard will always be remembered as a selfless and brave human who always looked out for others before himself, and though it may be slight, hope still remains that he can be found. Thanks for your support on Patreon, Angry Arbel Zafari. Now it's time for the 18th of May episode of Monday Night Raw in about 5 minutes. Caruso alert! After ending last Monday's episode looking directly into the camera and saying, "If Randy Orton versus Edge does happen, it will surely be the greatest wrestling match ever," she opened this episode with the exact same line. "The Caruso doth protest too much." Edge accepted Randy's challenge for Backlash, presumably with the greatest wrestling match ever as a stipulation, given how both Caruso and the commentary team had to say that line every time they spoke about it. The problem is, they're not going to have the greatest wrestling match ever. No one can top Pac versus Orange Cassidy, meaning it gives Edge versus Orton impossible expectations, putting even more pressure on one guy who's only wrestled once in 9 years, and the other who's often criticized for his boring in-ring work. It's just WWE's petty way of rewriting recent history and their indulgent Falls Count Anywhere WrestleMania match. The Black Hand, Seth Rollins, complete with Buddy Murphy, who now wears stained glass windows for sleeves, cut yet another excellent promo, deflecting his Drew McIntyre loss, the first real proof of his own infallibility, if you don't count Kevin Owens beating him twice at WrestleMania, by focusing his attention on Rey Mysterio. Because Lucha's gotta stick together, Humberto Carrillo came out to defend Rey's honor, which he did very poorly by losing to Murphy in minutes. Aleister Black then ran down for the save, setting up Murphy versus Black for later on. Charlotte Flair is a Raw star. Charlotte Flair is the NXT Women's Champion. And Charlotte Flair is also now appearing in a SmackDown feud with Sasha Banks and Bayley. Vince's dream is realized. We now have the Omni Flair. Flair made Ruby Riott tap to the figure 8 in a few minutes. Kairi Sane celebrated Asuka becoming a Triple Crown winner in WWE through the medium of flute. Which brought out a more heelish Nia Jax to tell her she was just a placeholder champion, which started Asuka's soft babyface turn throughout the night, getting revenge for Nia attacking Kairi backstage later on. R-Truth did his Pretty Rick shtick again, which is so bad I really enjoyed Lashley beating the crap out of him. MVP clapped on the entrance ramp, prompting Lana to freak out backstage. After beating them in a non-title match last week, the Iconics were just too badass to win the belts against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, which saw WWE's favourite overused lame finish, disqualifying Royce for repeatedly throwing Bliss into the ring post, which might be the most threateningly credible she's ever looked. The Iconics teased a breakup backstage, but I'm pretty sure that was just for comedy. Shayna Baszler choked Natalya out in a really good submission match next, awesomely using her boot to stop Natalya reaching the ropes. And then, in a bit of coordinated chaos trademark Paul Heyman, Natalya started trashing the Kevin Owens show props as stagehands tried to set it up. It was a neat way to make the show feel more interconnected. Because that's right, Kevin Owens is back! After beating Seth Rollins at WrestleMania twice, one of Raw's top stars, KO, made his return from injury to host a talk show segment for someone else's storyline. Selena Vega's gang of sexy men denied they all hated Austin Theory, so Owens brought back Apollo Crews for Holla Holla, a tag team match players, which Apollo quickly won after Theory accidentally elbowed Angel Garza. Garza and Andrade beat down Theory after the match, throwing him out of the group. While that was a very rushed breakup, he was never a good fit for the faction, and the unit will be better off without him. Caruso alert! Apollo then challenged Andrade for the United States title next week. After their brief scuffle earlier, Murphy took on Aleister Black, but the real focus was Seth going over to the still dejected Theory at ringside, a mirror image of how he first recruited Murphy to his faction. Rollins extended the Black Hand, which is such an ingenious deal with the devil costume detail, and Theory knew what he had to do: beat up Black to save Murphy and become Seth's latest disciple. This was excellently performed. I thought Austin would go back down to NXT, but this could be a masterstroke at keeping him on the main roster. In pre-filmed skits split up throughout the night, we then got round 2 of the Anything You Can Do, I Can Do Better feud of the Viking Raiders versus the Street Profits, now with more axe throwing. This was actually surreally really funny, with Eric and Ivar making a fire for, you know, the smoke, a random horse clowning Dawkins, and a guy sounding a horn to start the match. Unfortunately, WWE don't seem to know what they're trying to achieve here. A quite organic bromance is now brewing between the two teams. I don't want to see them fight each other. I want to see them hang out. And the conclusion, just like last week, didn't make any dramatic sense. And finally, we got King Corbin versus Drew McIntyre, because not even the Raw main event can escape the pull
of Baron Corbin's mid-card vortex. Thanks.
Drew is so good, he turned this into a really fun heavyweight back and forth, kicking out at 1 because Drew saves those near falls for when they matter, an awesome Claymore into deep 6 counter, and finally a Claymore win. But the real intrigue came with who was watching on from the ramp. Other mid-card of Evil alumni, Bobby Lashley, watched on with MVP, neatly setting up McIntyre's next opponent, reprising their very good feud from Impact Wrestling in 2015-16. It's crazy to think that WWE brought both guys back to the company by 2017. They could have just carried that momentum into then and hit the ground running, but they booked them as a backup henchman in Drew's case, and the string of some of the worst gimmicks in recent history for Lashley, meaning they've waited almost 3 years to fully capitalize on what they have. But hey, better late than never. What did you think of Raw? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'll be replying from out of my tinfoil covered house. I love the storyline elements on this show, with Theory moving from Vega to Rollins, Asuka slowly turning face, and the impending Lashley versus Drew feud. But these shows are still far too long without fans. This week's Raw is average. What is the real reason behind a SmackDown star suddenly leaving WWE over the weekend? Click the video on the right to find out. And what are the 20 funniest moments of WWE's modern era? Click the video beneath that to learn more with Adam Blompier, and support WrestleTalk. Get your Piledrive COVID-19 shirt from WrestleTalkmerch.com. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.